And it was announced earlier this week, changes for teams when it comes to the short track road course rule package. Moving forward, they're going to a 2-inch spoiler and removing strakes, which NASCAR says will lead to a 30% reduction in downforce. This for all road courses and shorter tracks except Bristol and Dover. So this is a big change, and they believe this will take away downforce, help the cars in traffic. So how do you think these changes will make that happen?
I don't know. Time will tell.
You give me a one-word answer again?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not a big, I don't know. Here's, this is the thing. Like, I applaud the effort. There is absolutely no doubt about that. I'm not a big fan of changing rules after rules have been made. There's been a tremendous amount of effort put into what we've got going to the racetrack right now from a simulation standpoint, from a development standpoint. So I'm not a big fan of these changes at this time, because we don't know what we're going into this year, because we've all got new noses, we've all got new fascias, we've got new fenders, hood exits. There's a lot of things different. So there's a huge contingent that thinks that taking downforce off of the car is going to make it race better on the short tracks. I don't know that. I've been doing this for 30-something years, and we've had a way less downforce and way more downforce, and I don't know that I've seen huge differences in the short track racing.
What do you anticipate we'll see from this? Are you happy about this change?
I also don't know. I wasn't at the test, right? So have no idea really what to expect. There's been somewhat of a cram session going into the last couple weeks when we found out that this was going to happen, to spending time in the simulator, trying to figure out the aero map that's associated with this, and trying to implement that into our simulation program, all of those things. But from a driver's standpoint, I also applaud the effort. I think last year we saw some phenomenal racing across the board, but specifically at the 1.5 miles and the bigger racetracks. The road courses and the short track program didn't put on the best of races. And I think part of that is because this car inherently is a little bit tighter in traffic. Every race car, every time we keep making more and more downforce, the cars continue to get harder and harder to drive when you're in traffic. Most of the short tracks and road courses that we go to are single lane. Right? When you go to these bigger racetracks, you can move around and you can search for clean air. When you go to Richmond, you're going to be right on the bottom. When you go to Loudon, you're going to be pretty much in the second lane or straddling that first seam. And I feel like those reasons produce, a lot of single file and not a lot of passing for the lead. So I feel like NASCAR felt like they needed to make a change.
So you mentioned a little bit of the preparation on the driver's side. What will it be like on the team side? And you obviously manage a 4-car stable. What is this like? Because it's a pretty short amount of time to get everything situated for Phoenix.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of work. There's no doubt about it. But the good news is that we're building the Phoenix cars now. It's not like they were sitting there built, and they're bits, right? They're bits and pieces that we could take on and off of the car. So it's not a tremendous amount of structural change. It's just more inventory to manage. It's more different things to try to get prepared to go to the racetrack. So it's a really interesting thing. This is a dilemma that we've had for years. As soon as teams and people start to understand the aerodynamic advantage of a race car, if you really optimize it, that's when racing started to go bad, because people understand what it takes to manipulate the air and make the car go faster when it's by itself, right? And we can't unlearn that. So that's a challenge that we're all faced with, because we've got some really, really smart people in this industry. So they're going to do what they can to make their race car go faster.
So NASCAR making this change, also adding a practice to Phoenix for this reason. How valuable will that be for drivers and teams?
It'll be huge, right? We're going into it somewhat guessing. I mean, we have a somewhat of an idea based on simulation, but you really don't know until you get there with your race car. And so to do that in a 20-minute practice like we typically get, where you can't change springs, you can't change sway bars, you can't do a lot of those things, I think that was necessary to give us a 50-minute practice session to where we can have a shot at it, to where we come in, make some bigger adjustments, put the car up on scales, make some sizable changes that we wouldn't otherwise be able to do under the standard practice and qualifying procedure.
Yeah, that extra practice will be critical for the teams to get a handle around this package, of course.